Hello and welcome to another episode of the Prof series. In this episode, we'll talk about Dr. David Wolyn and his asparagus breeding. Dr. David Wolyn is a newly retired asparagus breeder at the University of Guelph. Prior to his retirement, he taught both plant genetics and plant breeding. He often taught plant breeding in conjunction with Dr. Istvan Ratchan. He specialized in both tissue culture and plant genetics. For this episode, we'll be talking about his paper on asparagus cold hardiness. Let's get started. In southern Ontario, we have winter, and winter is long and cold. Within this environment, we also have problems such as freeze-thaw cycles that occur midwinter, usually in February, as well as problems with frost heaving, where ice underground pushes up the crop and destroys the root system. Asparagus cultivars within this region have to tolerate these conditions. The traits needed for survival include the timely activation of dormancy and freezing tolerance of the overwintering plant, as well as the maintenance of these traits during the freeze-thaw cycle. Asparagus is a perennial. As such, the plant must be able to survive over the course of many years within the system in order to make farming this crop profitable within this region. To test for winter hardiness, various experimental lines were tested for their winter hardiness. Those that did better were also tested through metabolite analysis to see the concentrations of these different chemicals that help aid in dormancy. The data was analyzed using two software packages, Proc Univerte and Proc Mixed. This was done for both the physical and metabolite properties respectively. Proc Mix was also supplemented with two other software packages, Proc Core and Proc Probit. Now here, from a freezing tolerance perspective, all cultivars increased their freezing tolerance between October 1st to October 12th, as soil temperature declined in 2012. The experimental cultivar GM had lower values of freezing tolerance than experimental cultivars UC and JG. This occurred between October the 1st and October 17th. However, none of the cultivars differed after that. Between the 31st of October and the 12th of November, freezing tolerance was identical across all cultivars. The amount of water in the storage organs varied between the two research periods, 2011 and 2012. GM had a lower water content than those of UC and JG in 2011. In 2012, there is no statistical difference between these three experimental lines. Now on to dormancy chemicals. Various biochemicals and chemical compounds used to survive over the winter are accumulated within the roots and rhizomes of the plant material. These chemicals include fructans, sucrose, raffinose, glucose, and proline, as well as protein. In both 2011 and 2012, fructans were higher in concentration for J, G, and UC in comparison to GM. GM started accumulating these compounds earlier than JG or UC in 2011, but did not differ at the end of the acclimation period between the 4th and 16th of November. Sucrose within the storage organs decreased and increased respectively for all cultivars from the first to final sampling dates. Values for GM started lower and rose to a higher level near the end of the sampling period. This occurred at a greater extreme than UC and JG. Raffinose concentrations decreased in both years during fall acclimation. It fell lower in GM in comparison to those of UC and JG. Rhizome glucose concentrations increased for all cultivars over the sampling dates in both years during the acclimation period and declined during the sampling dates. In this case, GM had a greater level of rhizome glucose concentrations than JG or UC. This occurred only between mid-October to mid-November. None of the cultivars differed during the other periods. Proline concentrations of GM were greater than those of UC, and JG varied so much that it's hard to put a finger on, were sometimes equivalent to GM and other times equivalent to UC. Now onto protein. GM accumulated the highest level of rhizome and storage root protein, while UC did the lowest, and JG varied from period to period. After all the data was run through, in terms of fall accumulation, In winter survivability, the cultivar GM is the poorest at fall acclimation within Ontario. UC was the best at adapting to Ontario, and JG was intermediate. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed it and think you can donate, you can do so at Buy Me a Coffee, link in the description below. Thank you for watching.